You know the thrill of picking a winner. But instead of just running to the window for a quick payout, I play smarter. I invest with MorningLine. MorningLine is a more sophisticated way to use your skill and bankroll without putting it all at risk. Own a piece of the horse with a piece of each purse. Buy, sell, trade, anytime. Keep the action rolling without burning your bankroll. This is playing the ponies, elevated like a boss. MorningLine. Own the game.
Hi, everyone. Thanks so much for joining us here on the Daily Racing Form YouTube. I'm Gino Buccola alongside Mailloux with producer Lucia helping us out. We're going to head on out to Santa Anita, take a look at the California Chrome Derby, the Cal Cup Derby that's going to run on Saturday. Before we do, I want to let you know about a new sponsor of our Daily Racing Form YouTube videos and Daily Racing Form, and that's morningline.io. Old school ownership locks you in with fees, with markups, with no exit. Morning Line offers a modern alternative. Licensed access to elite racehorses with flexibility to buy, to sell, or to trade anytime. No ongoing costs, only on morningline.io. Check that out. Let's move to the preview for the California Chrome Cal Cup Derby. That's quite a mouthful there, but it's named, Ashley, after the Kentucky Derby winner who won this race against California breds before moving into open company. And it was just funny to think about, like, at this point, the year he won the Derby, he was not on anybody's radar when you're making Kentucky Derby lists and you're talking about Derby points, and he just came out of nowhere. Here's the field named after him in the race that's named in his honor. And Ashley, this is a pretty big competitive field. You have a lot of these lightly raced horses. If you're talking about speed figures and stuff, the top tier, they're not separated by a whole heck of a lot. Thought it was a competitive race to handicap.
Yeah, this was a really fun race to go through because I think there's some interesting moves with, you mentioned, like horses stretching out or maybe coming in from Florida for this race. Horses that had crazy beginnings to their career. I thought there was a lot to like in here. And I think from a betting perspective and just a race, this will be a race on Saturday at Santa Anita that I think I'll focus in on. And I think if you're looking at probably the wagering opportunities, late pick 5, late pick 4, they both look pretty good.
Yes, Smoovin Saturday has won both starts. Ocean Bear has won 3 in a row. And then My Boy Stan is the horse who comes in from Gulfstream Park. I'd imagine they will take some support as we move to the pace projector. We'll see how Timeform US think this race will shape up. They've got Sammy Davis Jr. on the lead. I mean, this is a really quick horse, Ashley, who has shown the ability to get the lead going 5 furlongs, can go sub 22 early on. So he can fly.
Yeah, he certainly can. Comes out of a 7/8 race, which we'll talk about in a little bit more detail in a moment. Concern would be, though, right? His last 2, he's tired. So here, sometimes we say horses can't stretch out. They can stretch out, especially given the fractions that might unfold early. I think my concern with him, I think other horses will try to go with him.
Let's meet the field here for the California Chrome Cal Cup Derby. $175,000 up for grabs. This is going to go as race number 8 on Saturday over at Santa Anita. Mile and a 16th on the main track. We start out with My Boy Stan. He was a debut winner against Maiden Claimers. He adds the blinks now for his 3rd start. And when he faced winners on December the 6th, actually made this big 3-wide move up into contention before flattening out a little bit. This will be the first time he moves in with Calbreds. I understand why they would want to take a shot in a spot like this. You have a Calbred horse who can run for big money and a big purse here. You can kind of see where he stacks up. And what I like is that he got that start at a mile under his belt last time out. So now this will really be like his 2nd start going longer.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned it. He's running for $175,000 and on debut, and that maiden claiming event, $42,000. Over 4 times the amount. And he won that nicely. I can't really speak to what was behind him. I don't think it was a great group. You look at kind of next out, horses typically dropped from there and didn't run all that well. I thought his 2nd career race, I actually found it to be a little bit more intriguing. You mentioned it, though. He kind of got, tired a little bit in those late stages. And I think at least he's gone a mile. Now he has to answer not only a mile and a 16th, but he has to answer the 2-turn test. But I think these connections, look at them. They're making the decision to ship him. They must have some confidence in his abilities, and at least they're curious to give him a shot to go out to Santa Anita.
Next up is the Calbred Stakes winner, Sammy Davis. He has big speed sprinting, but he's never been beyond 7 furlongs. He did tire at 7 furlongs back on Halloween when he finished second in the Golden State Juvenile behind Ocean Bear. His dam did win at a mile on the turf, and he is a half sibling to a horse named Cali Cat, who's multiple stakes placed, who did win going long on the turf. I think just came back and won last weekend as well. So pedigree-wise, he should be able to get a little bit more distance. He just hasn't gone this far yet, and there might be some other speed in here that he has to deal with in this big field.
Yeah, there might be other speed, and I'm kind of concerned if he gets pressured. As we take a look back at the Golden State Juvenile, I think this was actually a good performance from him. So, it's funny. You can't hold on at 5.5 because they went so quick, 44 and 3, 57, 103, and almost 3. And then they stretch him out, and he ran really well here at Del Mar. This is going to be his first start, though, at Santa Anita. He's game here. Ocean Bear is able to beat him. The concern would be Ocean Bear. He has to face, again, different running style, right? So, I don't know. He's a horse that I think you have to respect in some ways, but I have some question marks.
Yeah, he would be a horse I use at the bottom of the exotics because he may be the quickest in here, but is he going to clear everybody else and do that easily and then be able to hang on and have enough late? We move to start the ride. He completely missed the break in his debut, and you'll see the race actually he was declared a non-starter in that race. After completely missing the debut, though, after completely missing the break, he actually moved from last all the way up to fourth and did show a little bit in there. I would like to see him, though, get a race with maidens. We don't really know what his running style is yet because of what happened there. Is he going to be on the lead? Where is he going to be? But there aren't that many chances for big money for Calbreds. So you have a horse that you think is pretty good. I can understand why they take a shot here.
Yeah, it's a homebred for Harris Farm. I think the thing that I tried to do is to go back. I watched the replay in full, and I was like, oh, I think I'm going to pull this because we're not talking about leaving the gate and being like a split second behind. We're talking about significantly. Like he's not on the screen for most of the race.
Standing in the gate. Yeah, he's not even.
You watch finally as they enter the final turn. At some point, you can see him pick up. My issue and why I didn't pull the replay is I didn't feel like he was picking it up on his own. I mean, he was advancing, but not the way that I would have liked to see him to say, wow, like I find him really curious in here. I think a lot of the horses in that group, they're pretty tired. And I think that's why when I visually watched it, I just wasn't really impressed with kind of the final stages. But I do recommend watching it. Watch it start to finish. I mean, he's not in the picture for a big part of it. But for me, I agree with you. I would have liked to seen another race.
Smoovin Saturday is pretty handy. He's 2 for 2. Both of his wins have been long on the dirt. And he's probably one that wants to sit back and make one late run. So I think he's hoping they're going pretty quick early on.
Yeah, I think so too. And I think when we go back to his most recent race at Los Al, he won on debut at Del Mar going a mile. He goes to Los Al to mile. I know it's still a mile, but I think the big thing here is the stretch worked out really well for him at Los Al. Being long, he was a little further back early on. And the way that he ends up doing this, he's the best in the King Glorious. I don't think there's any doubt about it. He did have to grind for a little bit, but then you see him sort of think, oh, this is what I'm supposed to do. I'm supposed to take off from here. And right about there, he's able to draw clear in here. I thought it was a good effort. We've talked about a couple horses in here. You wonder about distance. Distance shouldn't be a problem for him. I like his running style. And in a lot of ways, Gino, I think he's the horse to beat.
Yeah, he beat 4 of these other rivals. 5 of them ran in the King Glorious that day. So, I mean, he's definitely on the top tier of contenders. We moved to almost there. I'm curious if he will run because he just raced like 7 days ago on the turf against maiden specials when finishing 4th. Still a maiden in here.
Yeah, and with the draw times and stuff like that, it's tough to say if they will or they won't. I would think maybe they'll bypass it. But if he does run here for some reason, they're going to try 2 whole new things. Going long, they're going to try the dirt. You can look at it, though. He has worked on the dirt before, and actually the work on December 15th, pretty speedy out at Santa Anita.
Yeah, and Ryan Hansen's actually solid with young horses. This guy is newly turned 3-year-old, but if you look at a lot of the stats for Ryan Hansen with first-time starters with 2-year-olds and stuff like that, very good with young horses. So I think that still would fit the bar here. We move to Ocean Bear. He's probably right in that top tier of contenders too, Ashley. He's now won 3 in a row. His debut wasn't even a bad effort when he finished second, and he just seems like he's stepping forward a little bit in each of his races. I love his running style where he just, sits a couple lengths behind. Looks like he's pretty handy. He can, they can ask him when they want. He can move to the lead. We showed a replay of him getting by Sammy Davis in that Golden State Juvenile, and that was the last time we saw him back on October the 31st. But he has wins from 5.5, 6.5, and 7 furlongs, and he's really had that nice progression now to stretch out to a mile and a 16th.
Yeah, you bring up a great point. He's in that top tier. Personally, probably because I prefer Smoovin Saturday because he's gone 2 turns. That's why I think he's the horse to beat. But I do think from a betting perspective, Ocean Bear potentially could take more money. He's gone off favored, in 3 of his 4
Yeah.
starts. I guess if you're trying to be a little critical of him, don't get me wrong. I think he could be huge in here. I don't think the distance is really going to be an issue for him, but he hasn't done it yet, where I mentioned the other horse has. And I do think his performances at Del Mar on the 31st of October and the 7th of September, they were flattered by the fractions, right? He
Yep.
was in the right spot. So, I mean, if you like him in the Golden State Juvenile, do you like Sammy Davis, knowing that he was the one that did all of the dirty work on the front end? I don't know how you kind of read into that. And personally, we talked about it. Maybe use Sammy Davis further in your selections, right? Maybe at the bottom of the exotics. There's things to like about him. This horse is handy. He can be close to it. And the barn, red hot right now out at Santa Anita.
Yeah, and I wonder too, because I respect him quite a bit. He's
Mhm.
not flashy. You see his wins, he kind of trips out. And maybe that's just the type of horse he is. Maybe he's going to be that type of horse who always puts himself in the right spot and he's going to be able to win a lot more races because of that. I wonder though, where you're saying he's in the right spot, those races set up for him. Is there someone else who can come flying from the back of the pack or is maybe a little bit more brilliant versus he who's just been really workmanlike and solid? We move on to John Metcalf. He comes off of a runner-up effort, back-to-back runner-up efforts where he was behind Smoove Saturday, and he's still a maiden. He's 0 for 5. 4 of those races have been on dirt, 2 going long on the dirt. He was a little green in his most recent start early in that race. He sat fourth. He made this big 3-wide move. He was out in the 5 path in early stretch. He did take the lead and was kind of battling it out before we saw Smoove Saturday wear him down late.
He's funny to look at. I just think he's kind of looking at his progression. He's kind of the horse that I find like a curious type to study. He did not do anything in his first 2 career starts. He didn't take
Yeah.
any play, never got going, and he was off slow. He got steadied early. He had some problems, but he's really turned it around since stretching out, regardless of the surface. Ran well. You mentioned at Santa Anita on the turf. Horse to finish in front of him came back to win next time out. I think that race was pretty strong. And then you look at his next 2, and also second place finishes, sort of similar in terms of least close to it, if not on the lead, right? In more recent times, he's been a little further back. My concern, though, is you look at those last 3 and he just can't finish those races. He's just getting beaten by the horse that we talked about in here, Smoovin Saturday. And now he has to go a little bit further. So for me, it's not just the maiden factor. Sometimes I could play a maiden race like this
Sure.
if they showed a lot. I just don't know if he can finish this race with the additional distance.
Can't help myself. Comes off of a third place finish. He was in that same King Glorious behind the horses we just mentioned, John Metcalf, Smoovin Saturday. I think that's my issue is you look at Smoovin Saturday, John Metcalf, Sammy Davis, Pavlovian, Ocean Bear. These are all horses who have been finishing in front of Can't Help Myself. He's not been disgraced. He's only a length or a couple lengths behind them. Those are a lot of horses who he's going to have to flip the script on.
It is. And I will say, I think his Golden State Juvenile by far is his most intriguing performance. He gets a career best buyer, and he races in that race completely different than any other time we've seen him. He was
Yep.
almost dead last in there, second to last. He rolls late because he got the pace help. I'm really curious to see what the decision will be here, how to position him in this race early on by Kyle Frey, because in the King Glorious, he's sitting mid-pack. He's got a couple of lengths between him and the pace setters, and he just kind of stays that way as the favorite. So I don't know how I would ride him. I'm not a trainer, but I almost feel like, I don't know, a mid-pack trip, maybe even a little further off of it. But we'll see what happens here. As the concern with so many, Ocean Bear and the other horse we mentioned, they've been in front of him in those last 3.
Yeah, that's the same for Pavlovian, right? Smoovin Saturday, Ocean Bear in the last 3 races, been behind all of them. He's grade 3 placed. Pavlovian's a bit of a question mark going longer, though, because his win came at 5 furlongs. He lost the rider at 7 furlongs, and he's already been behind a couple of these rivals in his most recent start. So I had a tougher time making a case for him. He got some room last time out. He was up the inside to challenge. I thought it was like a no excuses kind of a fourth.
No, and it's going to be interesting. This will be the second time in his career without blinks. Blinkers, came off last time out. He was at the back of the pack. And again, you can kind of look hop in his last 2 starts. He's having a little bit of issues from the beginning. So I don't know what they're going to try to do here. I'd like to see him actually a little bit more involved. I thought his effort 3 back was fine. He was only a length and 3/4 behind Ocean Bear, but keep on saying the same thing, Gino. He, I think when I look at him and study him harder, he would still need to improve figures wise.
We move to Fianello, who was a debut winner, and he just hasn't really stepped forward since that debut. That was at 4.5 furlongs. He's now a first-time gelding, but stop me if you heard this before. He's been behind Smoovin Saturday, Ocean Bear recently, Sammy Davis. So he's had to see a lot of these rivals. He's been behind them most of the time. He does get a first-time gelding here, and he's luring Jaramillo, who has just been getting rave reviews since his move out to the West Coast in a situation, in a circuit where speed riders and speed horses perform well. He's just going to do really well because he's a very, very good speed rider. What do you think about Fianello in here?
Interesting. You mentioned Jaramillo when he had the 3-win day the other day. I pull up all the replays and they weren't all on the lead. I was thinking maybe that was the case. There was a closer in there and things of that nature. You mentioned the first-time gelding angle. Maybe that helps him. He's being listed as gelded on the 19th of December. My issue with him is he just looks like he tries to be a deep closer, right? He just is not really fast. Blinkers have been on. That really hasn't helped in some of his races. I will say, though, with the blinkers idea, is it a focus thing? Now he's getting gelded. Is that an issue as well? Maybe we've seen improved performance here, but I'm going to pass.
We round things out with Cruz Home, who was a third-place finisher in his debut. Then in his second start, he stretched out to a mile at Losal. But it was a pretty nice race visually. He was a couple lengths off. He was about in the two path in between horses, and then he was up wide at the top of the lane. And that debut was a pretty nice closing third. He is hooked out wide. He is going to have to step up and face tougher in here. So I go back and forth because I like what he's done on paper, but he's still definitely going to have to improve to be competitive in this race.
Yeah, in the race on December 5th, only one horse has come back to win. I think you look at Cruz Home and Desert Hawk, the top two in there, they were towards the back early on, right? And they ended up being 1-2 in there. So the race kind of fall apart. It sort of feels that way, but I think you bring up a great point here about the visual element. I actually thought it was a good effort. I actually thought his debut, just 6 furlongs, he got the pace setup that he needed. He was far back. He was rolling in there and just ran out of real estate. So I have a feeling he should be a really good price in here. And I think as we talk about things and we talk a lot about horses having to face the same horses, he's a wild card. And horses like him, Gino, I could easily use him for a piece.
Yeah, I actually did. I threw him in the bottom of the exotics too, just because I feel like he's going to be a fair price. So let's move to selections on this one, Ashley. It was a fun field to talk through with you as we look at your selection here. You're going to go to Smoovin Saturday.
Yeah, we're pretty similar here. Your second, third, and fourth picks end up being my top 3 in here. I said it, and I kind of showed my cards early. I think he's somewhat the horse to beat based on the distance factor. It's kind of up to, I guess, the person looking at the replay to make the decision if they like what they saw visually. Was it the best of wins? No, but he wins pretty easy there in the King Glorious. He'll face a lot of the same horses again, and I love that he passed that test. But I think from a price standpoint, we talked about it. I don't know. The 11, call us crazy, Gino. I think this horse could be a really good price in here and extremely intriguing.
And for Ashley, 4, 6, 11, 2, 1, 6, 4, 11 for me. Ashley, if we get the win for my boy Stan, I'm going to call you up on Saturday. I'm going to be rapping Eminem to you.
I knew where you were going with this.
You knew where I was going. You knew it. Well, whoever you play, however you play them, we wish you the best of luck.